So last class, if you remember, we completed this text called Tattva Bodah. Now today we are just going to look back again systematically so that it will refresh our memory and consolidate the knowledge that we have gained by going through this text. Before that, let us look back at the first class we had, which was on the goal of life. So we can connect everything once we start from the beginning. So we had looked at what is the goal of life as prescribed in our Shastras. It is not just goal of life that somebody has said. You, me, or somebody else has told, okay, this is the goal of life. So we had seen the four-pronged goal, which is Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Dharma and Artha, security and happiness, which are common to all beings. Dharma is something which is unique to human beings because only human beings do actions based on knowing what is right and wrong. So it is applicable only to human beings. So all our actions towards gaining this other two goals, Artha and Kama, are guided by the knowledge of what is right and wrong. And the ultimate goal is called as Moksha, which is freedom. So basically we are seeking freedom from unhappiness and insecurity. So we are striving for happiness and security, but strictly speaking we are actually seeking freedom from unhappiness and insecurity. So once we accept this as a goal, why we accept this as a goal? Because it is prescribed by the Shastras. Again, we have seen what Shastras are. We have understood the various material that is prescribed in the Shastras. So once you accept the Shastras as a valid means of knowledge, then you accept the goal specified in the Shastras. Because unless there is a standard by which we accept, it should be acceptable to everybody. Like we have a standard time. Now everybody cannot have their own time. So some standard is fixed against which we accept the time which is prescribed. So similarly, something which is acceptable to all is Shastra. If somebody says, I don't believe in the Shastras, it's their choice. But if you accept the Shastras, and why should you accept the Shastras? Because the Shastras are something which have not been, it is not attributed to any particular person. It is not that you or me or some particular person wrote or prescribed the Shastras. So we accept the Shastras are something which are directly given by the Creator. Shastras are more like a manual that comes with a product. So only the Creator knows how the product has been manufactured and only He can give the manual. We cannot write a manual for a product which we have not created. So the Shastras are accepted as a valid means of knowledge because it is something which has directly created, directly come from the source. Of course, through medium. So there are many rishis and many wise men who have understood this and they have further conveyed this to their students through a lineage of students, the teacher-student combination. These have been propagated over thousands of years. So there is no time frame for Shastras. People can fix any time frame, 5,000, 10,000. The Shastras have always existed because as long as the world has been there, the Shastras have been there. Because a product always comes with a manual. So once the world is available, the manual also was available along with it. So once we accept the Shastras as a valid means of knowledge, then the goal that is specified in the Shastras, which is freedom, moksha, the next question is how to attain this. Now, yes, I accept the Shastras. If somebody says I don't accept the Shastras, okay, they can stop proceeding further. But once you accept the Shastras, then the goal specified by the Shastras also is clear. So once you accept, okay, I accept that the goal is moksha or freedom. How do I now get this? How do I attain this goal? So that is where again we need to get the right source of knowledge. How do I move towards this goal? So first is identifying the goal, orienting ourselves towards the goal. Okay, I accept this as the goal. Now tell me how to proceed further. Who is this person called me? What is this world? How was this creation made? Is there something called God? Who is this God? Where is he there? Is he sitting in some place and then guiding all of us? So all these kind of questions arise in all of us. Some of us may like to know more. Some of us may say, okay, it doesn't matter. What matters is I am living now. Let me do what I can as per my likes and dislikes. Now once you have that initially we have curiosity to know all these things. The next level is, okay, from curiosity, from being curious, you become a little serious. Once you become a little serious, yes, I want to know. Then you start finding the source of this knowledge. So that is where we started with this text called Tattva Bodah. It is supposedly authored by Adi Shankara, though there is no strong evidence. But it doesn't matter who has authored it. What matters is what it contains. And it gives an answer to many of these questions which we have. Who am I? Who is God? What is this world? How am I connected to this world? How am I connected to God? So all these questions are answered in this text. Because in this text we came across so many new terms which we were not aware of, which the author unfolded slowly. So the text basically, as the author says, it is meant for people who have a thirst to know, a strong desire to know the self. That is what the first verse says. So now, if you want to know something, you should qualify to know that. If you want to study engineering, you should have taken physics, chemistry, maths. That is a basic qualification in your schooling. You should have got a certain number of marks. You should have a certain amount of money to join a college and pay the fees. So all these are requirements. So similarly, if you want to know yourself, in the first section, so basically this text, as we saw, has 5 sections. The first section deals with the qualification. The second section deals with the self. It tells you what you are. The third section deals with, or the second section deals with the microcosm. The third section deals with the world. What is this world? How was the world created? So it deals with the macrocosm. The next section deals with what is the connection between the microcosm and the macrocosm. And the last section is what is the benefit of knowing all this? Because unless we know what we are going to get out of it, why should we do something? It's natural. So this is how the text is divided into these 5 sections. The first section we saw was the qualifications that are required to gain this knowledge. The knowledge of self, because Tattva Bodah itself means the knowledge of, the essence of knowledge or the knowledge of self. So how to gain this? You need some qualifications. So author had specified 4 qualifications which are required for us to study, to understand the self. The first one was called Viveka, which is discrimination. We have gone through in detail. Just to refresh, discrimination is to discriminating between what is permanent and what is impermanent. So that is the discrimination we need to have. The second one is called Vairagya, which is dispassion. Dispassion towards all the worldly things, thinking in a very objective way. So that is called dispassion. I'm not going to elaborate on all these things because we have already gone through. The third one, the third qualification is a set of 6 qualities we should have, starting with what is called as Sama. So the 6 qualities are Sama, Dhamma, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha and Samadhana. Sama is nothing but the availability of the mind when required. So that means your mind should be clear and calm to understand and do things. So that is, it should be available when you need it. Dhamma is, if you don't have Sama, then you need Dhamma. At least you should be able to control your sense organs. Uparama is the following your dharma, what you are supposed to do. Do what you should do, avoid doing what you should not do. So that is Uparama. Titiksha is basically accepting the extremes, treating heat and cold as the same, as you say. So neither extreme happiness nor extreme sadness. You learn to accept both in a very equal way. Shraddha is basically trust, but not trust in the way that we normally understand, because Shraddha is a very technical word in Sanskrit which cannot be translated directly into English, because there are many Sanskrit words which are unique. You may not find a direct translation, so we have to find some nearby equivalent. So trust. Now trust in what? Trust in the Shastras. So once we accept Shastras as a valid means of knowledge, so trust in the Shastras is the first thing we should have, and the words of the teacher, the Guru, because we accept the Guru because of his this thing in the Shastras, the lineage of Gurus, because we trace the lineage down to Lord Shiva. So the lineage of Guru starts from there, and then ultimately through whom we learn. So we acknowledge all their presence. So the words of the teacher have to be trusted because it is from the Shastras. It is not the teacher's own thinking. Then finally, samadhana is equanimity, a state of mind where you are not disturbed by external things. So these are the 6 qualities you should possess if you have to gain that self-knowledge. And last one, but not the least, is called mumukshutvam. In fact, that is the first thing we should all have, the basic desire. Because to learn anything, unless you have a basic desire, you are not going to learn. You are not going to be interested. You learn engineering because you have a basic desire to learn. You learn music because you have a basic desire to learn. So same way, the stronger the desire, you will excel in that field when it comes to other things. But here, the stronger the desire for liberation or moksha, the more you will be able to build these qualities. Because mumukshutvam, or the desire, has to come from within. It cannot be like all these classes are meant to just create that interest, but unless the interest comes from the self, it cannot go further. So what comes out of curiosity, maybe out of 100 people, maybe 20 people may be curious, and out of that maybe 2 people may become serious. It is up to the individual. So mumukshutvam is something which has to come from individual. It cannot be thrust upon somebody. You cannot thrust some interest. You can probably make people aware something which we may not be. For example, I would say this interest came because I happened to attend a class, not out of interest, but just to out of curiosity, which led me to become serious. It need not be with every person. So it all happens probably at a particular time and at a particular juncture of our lives. We may be we may become a little serious about knowing these things. The other 3 qualifications can be acquired by practice, by understanding. But mumukshutvam cannot be understood because it has to come from within. The basic desire has to come from the person. So these are the 4 qualifications which the author has prescribed for study of self. Now moving on to the second section. So the author starts with a statement that Atma is the truth, all the other thing, that the world is mithya. So here we came across 2 new terms, Atma and mithya, which the author again expands. So then he asks, what is Atma? So then the definition of Atma, first he says it is different from the 3 bodies. It is beyond the 5 koshas and beyond the 3 states. So we came across this definition. So we came to know about the 3 bodies. Probably most of us may not have been aware that we have 2 other bodies. We are only familiar with our physical body, but we also have a Sukshma Sharira. The Sthula Sharira, the physical body, is one which we are very familiar. The Sukshma Sharira is the subtle body, and there's another body called as the Karana Sharira, which is the causal body. So we were introduced to a set of bodies, two of which most of us may not have been familiar. The author further described each of these three bodies separately, which we have seen already. So we are not going to elaborate on what is a Sthula Sharira, what is a Sukshma Sharira, what is a Karana Sharira. The Sthula Sharira is nothing but the physical body. He is also given how it is acquired. There is a normal cause and there is a special cause. So all this we have seen earlier. The Sukshma Sharira consists of 17 elements. We came to know about the 5 organs of knowledge, the 5 organs of action, the 5 pranas that keep us moving, the mind and the intellect. So we came across 17 elements which make up the Sukshma Sharira. And the Karana Sharira is the one which is the cause for the other 2. Again, we have discussed this elaborately. So we came to know about these 3 bodies. Next we came to know about the 5 koshas, which is nothing but the 5 states of experience, and it is mostly to do with the Sukshma Sharira. So the 5 koshas is, one is nothing but the physical body itself, Sthula Sharira, and the Anandamaya kosha, the 5 koshas are Pancha koshas as we call them: Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha and Anandamaya kosha. The 5 koshas. The first kosha is nothing but the physical body. The next 3, Pranamaya kosha is the 5 pranas, Manomaya kosha which is the mind, Vijnanamaya kosha is the intellect, and Anandamaya kosha is the causal body basically. So these are different fields of experience, the 5 koshas. So the 3 bodies through which we function, and the 5 koshas which are different fields of experience. And it is beyond the 3 states, which is the waking state, the dream state, and which is a witness, or rather it is not, it is beyond the other 2, it is a witness to the 3 states. It is present in the waking state, it is present in the dream state, and it is also a witness to the deep sleep state. Because the other 2 we are aware. When we are in a waking state, both our body and mind are functioning. When we go to sleep, the body first drops off to sleep. The mind is alert still. The dreams happen, so the mind is awake. And when we go into the deep sleep state, we are not aware of what is happening at all. And that is our true nature. So in deep sleep state, how do we know? When we get up, we say, oh, I had a good sleep. So how do you know when you are not even available? Your mind was not available, your body was not available. Because actually you are not the mind and the body. You are the one who is a witness to these 3 states. So that is what the Atma was described as. Each of the functions of all the 5 organs of action, 5 organs of perception, everything, we are not going to elaborate again because we have already described and understood in detail. So the 5 pranas, each function of each prana, everything we have gone through elaborately, and we have also So that was the. So then what is Atma? So which is not all this, then what is it? He says it is Satchidananda Swarupa. Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. So what is Sat is existence, Chit is the nature of consciousness, and Ananda is fullness or bliss. So that is the actual nature of Atma. Sat Chit Ananda. So we are nothing but this very Atma. We are the very source of existence, bliss and happiness. Unfortunately, we relate only to the body and the mind, which is the reason we are not able to claim what is actually our true nature. So, Sat Chit Ananda is our true nature, which is the definition of Atma. Then, so this concluded the section on the microcosm. Then comes the section on macrocosm. What is this creation? How did this creation happen? So, basically, the consciousness which we call as Brahman and the Maya come together to create the world. So Brahman is the consciousness, Maya is what is we have understood as something which is seemingly real. It is existent but it is not real. So Brahman and Maya together come together, and the Maya is made up of the three attributes or the gunas as we call them: Sattva, Tamas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So these three attributes are available in everything. So we are made up of these three attributes. The Sattva guna, which is the pure guna. Rajo guna is the guna which makes us active. Tamo guna is what makes us dull. So ideally we should have maximum of Sattva guna, less of Rajo guna and the least of Tamo guna, if we have to progress spiritually, if we have to attain that goal. So the whole goal, one can say, is to increase the Sattva guna. The more the Sattva guna increases in you, you will be able to understand the total, I would say. So the first, when Brahman and Maya come together, the five elements are produced, starting with space, Akasha. From space, Vayu is produced. From Vayu, Agni is produced. From Agni, Jalam is produced. And from Jalam, Prithvi is produced. So the five basic elements are born by the combination of Maya and Brahman. The five elements consisting of the three attributes. So each of these elements has these three attributes: Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Now with these five elements, the other elements are born by a combination. So a combination of these elements, the other, we have already seen the five organs of action, the five organs of perception, the five pranas. These are all produced by a combination of these five elements. the sattva portion. You have seen that in detail, so we need not go and elaborate once again. So these 15 elements are born. So 5 direct elements are born through Brahman and Maya, and with a combination of these 5 elements with the 3 attributes they have, the 15 elements, the 5 organs of action, the 5 organs of perception, and the 5 pranas are born. And here the author talks about 4 more antakarana, which is the mind. Earlier we were talking about the mind and intellect. Here the inner instrument, as it is called, is divided into 4 parts. The mind, the intellect, the ego, and memory. So these 4 form the inner instrument. So we know the function of each of this. So together 24 elements are produced. This is how the creation takes place. The 24 elements are produced, starting with the 5 basic elements, and with a combination of these, the other 19 elements, as we have seen, are born. So this is how the creation happens. And how each body is built. So like, for example, the physical body is not directly made up of these 5 elements. It goes through a process called panchikaranam, through which these elements are grossified to form the physical body. Because the mind is subtle, but the body is gross. So you need gross elements to create the body. So through a process of grossification, we get the physical body. The elements, because in each element the other elements are also available. Through the process of grossification, when you, for example, you take akasha or the space. So when you say space element in the body, it consists of half space, and the rest of the half is equally divided between the other 4 elements. So that is how the process of grossification takes place to create the physical body. So we understood how the 24 elements are created. Then we understood what is Ishvara. Now it's nothing but the reflection of the consciousness. Ishvara is nothing but Maya reflected. When the total is reflected through the medium called Maya, it is called as Ishvara. When it is reflected through a smaller medium like an individual, it is an individual or a jiva. So basically we understood that both the Lord and the individual are both nothing but reflections of the total consciousness. They don't have an identity of their own. So it is the consciousness which reflects, but being a very larger medium, Maya, the reflection of Maya is total. So that reflection we call it as Ishvara. And a smaller medium which is clouded with so many things, it's like a mirror, very small mirror which is covered with dust. So unless you clean the dust, you cannot see properly. only when you see clearly you will understand that both the Lord as well as you are nothing but reflections. So basically there is no difference between us and God. So that is what leads to the next section, which is the equation which says Tattvam Asi. We came across this equation. All the Upanishads, as we say, they have certain Mahavakyas or the great equations which show the connection between the total and the individual. So here from one of the Upanishads, the author has taken the equation Tattvam Asi, the Mahavakya called Tattvam Asi. So Tat is the self, Tvam is the self, Tat is the total, and Asi. So the total is equal to the self. That is what the equation is. So this equation, once we understand, that is what we called as moksha. But understanding in total. It is not understanding now and after half an hour we forget it, because at that time when we come across a problem, that time we don't feel we are God. As long as we are in the class, when we are trying to understand this, we feel, oh, this is what is, I am God. But the moment we finish and we come across a problem, we get back to our individual self. So how do you acquire this? It's only through a process of gaining knowledge. How to gain knowledge? Through the Shastras, through a qualified teacher. But gaining knowledge is only one part. Just by saying Tattvamasi, we don't become enlightened. The knowledge happens in the mind. So the main thing is to prepare the mind. That is the toughest process. The easiest thing is to just attend a class and understand about the self. At that time we feel all this makes sense. Okay, yes, I am the God. There's no difference between me and God. But when it comes to a real life situation, we forget. We go back to our normal thinking. So the toughest part is to prepare the mind. The author is not, it is not in the scope of this text to tell you how to prepare the mind. He has just given what is what. He has just told us, first the goal is to gain freedom. For that you should have certain qualifications. What are you made up of? What is the total? And what is the connection between you and the total? And what do you gain out of it? By gaining this knowledge, and a firm knowledge. It is not the knowledge at any time. This knowledge, when it is available, you gain what is called as mukti. So you are called as a jivana mukta. Once your knowledge is firmly planted in the mind, you become a jivan mukta, which means once you leave the body, you don't come back in any form. All your karmas are destroyed. So he had also mentioned the three types of karmas: the sanchita karma, the prarabdha karma, and the agami karma. So all these three karmas are destroyed only by knowledge. And once you are all the karmas are destroyed, as long as the person is alive, he continues to function with the prarabdha karma will unfold. That is because it's already in existence. But once the prarabdha karma is depleted, gone, the person becomes a jivan mukta. He doesn't come back in any form. So you don't have to go through this cycle of birth and death. So all this, first we need to understand it's a continuous cycle, which many people may say, oh, I don't believe in this. Many religions don't believe there is a life after death. But it makes sense if we understand all this, that it's a continuous process. You go through, again you come back, and there is a law of nature. So whether what kind of body you get, which place you take birth, it's all driven by your own deeds, your own karmas. So whatever you do, you are responsible. So the responsibility is totally on the individual. You cannot blame God, you cannot blame anybody else, you cannot blame your neighbor, you cannot blame your relatives for whatever you are going through. Because it is only what you have done over millions of lives. The positive thing is, only in a human form you can gain this mukti. So they say, use this human life, because you don't know again when you are going to get it. So now, here and now, if you acquire this knowledge, a firm knowledge, you are relieved from further births and deaths. So that is something which we need to understand. If somebody says, okay, I don't have any this thing, let me enjoy as long as I live. After that, who knows? Nobody has come back and told that I went to heaven or hell, or I exist even. Some people say, once the body falls, I cease to exist. That's all, I don't exist anymore. So what is the big deal? So let me not worry about what is going to happen in the next birth. It's up to them. But like I said in the beginning, the Shastras have prescribed certain things. So if we take the Shastras as a accepted mean of knowledge, then all this is applicable. If we don't, nothing matters. So finally, the result of all this is you gain Jivan Mukti, you gain eternal happiness, which is nothing but realizing that you are the very source of happiness. You are always looking for something which goes around, but the happiness is, the very source is here. The reflection we see here and there, and we take it that as real. So when we do something, or when we taste something, or when we do some activity, we go to places to visit, we feel happy, we feel that is happiness. But when you come back, once you take some tasty food, as long as it is on the tongue, you feel happy. Once it goes down the throat, it doesn't make any difference. So it lasts only for a very short span. So ideally, if we feel we should have that happiness all the time, then we have to look for that source. Where is it? And you realize that it's only you. So you are the very source of happiness, and you are searching around for the thing which is right with you. So that only comes through knowledge. So knowledge is one part, like I said, and preparing the mind. So when you want to plant something, if you throw the seeds in the ground, they are not going to sprout properly. You will get more weeds than plants. So that is why the ground is prepared and the seeds are sown in a systematic way. So whatever you get is good. So same thing, preparing the mind is very important if this knowledge. So because finally the knowledge should be very firm. That is the state when you become a Jivan Mukta. There is no doubt, there is not an iota of doubt that you are the total. So preparing the mind is a process, and that is the most difficult part. Getting the knowledge is nothing very difficult. Knowledge happens in an instant. Tattvamasi. The answer is there. That's all. There's nothing very much to understand. thou art that. So there is God is equal to you. This is a simple equation. And if you give all this thing, you'll find yes, I accept that. But that equation is forgotten the moment we face a particular problem. So that is not difficult to acquire. But what is the most difficult part is preparing the mind. Now here the author has not given how do you prepare this mind. He has told only, maybe he thinks that people who are going through this text already have a prepared mind, but most of us don't have this. So we need to, it's a process. So it's a continuous process to prepare the mind, and that is where we need to go to Bhagavad Gita, because that is what exactly Lord Krishna tells you in Bhagavad Gita, how to prepare the mind. So he gives you all the ways and means to prepare the mind. And the main thing that is called as Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is nothing but doing what you should do without, you can say, being attached to the results. It is not that you don't expect results. You do your duty, let the results come. Whatever results come, I accept that as prasadam. So that is a different topic which comes in Bhagavad Gita. So we will start Bhagavad Gita, so we will know how to prepare the mind. So all the ways and means to prepare the mind, the Lord has explained, because here it's a human author, there the Lord himself is going to tell you what to do. So that is whatever knowledge about this we have gained so far, like Tattva Bodah has prepared us to gain further knowledge, because this is basic knowledge which we have not, most of us have not heard of. Most of us are aware only of the physical body. We don't know what is Atma. We are not aware what is the creation made up of. We think there is something called God. We don't know what God means, but we accept there is some force. But what is that God made up of? What is that difference between us and God? So all these things we are not aware, which this text has helped us to understand. We can go through, because this is a very basic text. The more we understand, the more we will be able to appreciate ourselves, which makes life easier for all of us. So the whole process starts with first understanding the basics, then move on to the next, how to gain all those three qualifications, how to strengthen them, what are those three qualifications, how do we build up upon. That can be understood by studying Bhagavad Gita. So this is Tattva Bodah. I hope it was useful in some way to know more about yourself. So we will conclude Tattva Bodah. So we will do the Tattva Bodah prayer first. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Vidhiyate.